Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to InvestorAi Academy's webinar on fundamental and technical analysis. It's an amazing part of our app, and a lot of people keep asking us, hey, how do I use that? You know, all this time you have always spoken about Alpha 330 and value investing and different things, but you know, I want to know more, how do we use fundamental and technicals, and just generally when somebody has to understand the stock market, why do they need to understand this? So we have today Akshaya Bhargava and our chairman and founder. We have Sarthak and Shailesh, who are also going to be, you know, doing this along with Akshay. So Akshay, over to you. Before that, everyone, let's keep the chat buzzing. We really want to take a lot of questions, and we have an absolutely phenomenal new plan that's out today, for you to look at in terms of subscribing to us, and as well as a awesome discount. I'm going to talk about it, right in the smack in the middle of our session at some time. So Akshay, over to you.
Thank you, Shruti. Great pleasure to be here and be talking to all of you. As always, wonderful to see some familiar names. Very glad to see you again. And I'm also conscious of the fact that I have to do something different. Otherwise, you guys will get bored saying, "Hamesha ek hi cheez bolta hai." So this time I thought that, we'd vary the format just a little bit. And I will talk about that in a second. Let me share my screen. So today's topic, as Shruti said, is technicals and fundamentals using InvestorAi. Now, I personally speaking, I never grew up as an investor who focused too much on technicals. Because I had early finance training, I did understand fundamentals, and they sort of made more sense to me, and technicals were sort of a little bit geeky when I was sort of looking at investments. But over time, I have realized that both these things have a role to play, and that role is not small. And at the very minimum, you have to understand them. Now, you can choose to ignore them, and you can trust your instinct, you can trust your market knowledge, you can trust your understanding and your own convictions about the market more. But it is very important to understand what technicals and fundamentals tell you and how they actually contribute to your investment strategy. And for that, I want to go back to an old slide, and I want to remind everybody on this webinar that the real superpower that all of us have is a combination of human and machine. Okay, so you and AI are the real components of the superpower. The third component is time, and that we have talked about enough, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But how, your style, your understanding, your conviction, your knowledge, your beliefs are extraordinarily important. AI cannot substitute that. No machine will ever substitute that. It will contribute to that. And if you go with that approach, you'll be very successful. You'll still make mistakes, but you will be successful. And so that's something we should never abandon. In today's session, I'm going to invite two people from our team to talk about their investment styles. But before I do that, as always, let me ask a few questions. The first thing is about your investment experience. So I want to know what kind of demographic we are talking about, how many years of experience. So Prabal, will you please put up the question? Yes. Thank you.
Can you see it, Akshay?
Yeah, I can see it. Thanks. Okay, dominant category is 0 to 1 year, but there are enough 3+ years. This is very interesting. When we first started, we had 50-60% 0 to 1 year. Now we are gradually seeing a better balance between the two. Okay, that's really great. So now, like I said, you can take this off, Prabal. Thank you so much. Okay, since you've asked this question, can you tell me what sort of age bracket do most of? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. You don't have to tell us. But it just gives me an idea of what sort of age bracket we are talking about. Okay. Again, it's good to see 50 plus population, because I'm in the 50 plus and I'm, always in the minority when we ask this question. Thanks, Prabal. No more questions. We'll stop here. So today, what I'd like to do is invite two people from the Bridgeweave team. One is Sarthak and the other is Shailesh. You have seen both of them talk to you at various times, but they are answering questions. This time, I'm going to ask them questions about their own styles. The reason I picked both of them, Shailesh started investing at 14. That's pretty incredible. I remember when I was 14, I think I was a moron that time. Kuch nahi malum tha. Then Sarthak is even more interesting. I think he started investing at 11 or 12. So these are, if there is such a term, these are child investors, like your child artists in films and all that. These are child investors. But as a result, they have evolved their style over the years. They are very comfortable with the markets. They're very enthusiastic about it. They're extremely knowledgeable. Sarthak in particular has not only invested in India, he's worked with UBS. So yeah, I was talking to him yesterday and he said, but I had a gap of 10 years where I wasn't investing. I said, what were you doing? He said, I was working for UBS and investing for UBS. I said, you were investing, just not on your own behalf. Anyway, both of them are very interesting. Interesting to me, both are very different. So with that tantalizing introduction, let me invite both Sarthak and Shailesh. So I'm going to start with Sarthak, age before beauty. And I'm going to ask Sarthak to tell us a little bit about his investment style, how he decides what to invest, how he allocates money, and basically just talk to us for a few minutes, Sarthak, on how you do it.
Of course. Thank you, Akshaya. And you're right. Actually, for the 10 years, I wasn't actually investing myself because I was forbidden. But yes, I used to invest and internationally in across different geographies, etc. But we will stick to India for today because majority of audience today are investors that invest in India. So let me first tell you about my investing style. Look, I am 80% investor, 20% trader, and trader doesn't mean intraday or anything. If if I see a very good swing inside, then I cannot stop myself. I just buy it, and I don't even sell. Let me be very honest, because my thing is not quick alpha, but it's an accumulation strategy. And typically in an accumulation strategy, you do not, go an accumulation not on a single stock and increase concentration, but diversify across sectors. Because look, most of us use InvestorAi for, various purposes, some to trade, some to, positional trades. For me, I use it for timing those trades because look, I do not intend to be like super rich in a couple of years. But for me, it is like building a portfolio that lasts a longer time. So, that's, I'll just stop here on the intro. So I give you Shailesh a chance and I don't, just eat up more of the time. I'll come back to more details in a second. Shailesh?
Hi, I'm actually flip opposite of Sarthak. I don't do and hold for an unknown time. I try to know before I enter when would I be exiting. For me, I do a lot of swing trading. I love entering intraday or exiting in 1 or 2 days. But there's also a part which I do long-term investing and building portfolios. So I actually split money across sections. For me, there is something I hold for long-term, something that I do for short-term, and obviously there's various different methodologies in.
Right. So, Shailesh, how do you think of your overall portfolio allocation, short-term, long-term, etc.?
I think Sarthak is going to talk about it, but what I do is there is this wonderful mechanism called margin facility. So what happens if you have holding something long-term and you are sure you're not going to sell it? Maybe even something like ETFs or fixed income bonds or even gold bonds. Nowadays, what happens, the brokers will actually take it for margin and give you capital to trade around. So what I do is the long-term investments, which I know for sure I'm not selling, and I'll put that in margin. And there is this, I love this trading capital, and whenever I get time, get ideas, I do it. So I would say about Actually, 20-25% of my portfolio is always in cash because I look at option strategies. About 50% is long-term value investing, and about 25% is for short-term trading.
Okay. So that's an interesting notion. Sarthak, you also mentioned something very interesting along these lines. Can you just walk us through how you do work this?
Yeah. So let me just share my screen. Guys, let me know if you can see it. Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so right now I'm in the portfolio console space of Zerodha. Again, we're not endorsing them by any chance. It's just that I happen to have my account there. So what you can see right now, one of my biggest holdings is a fixed income instrument called Bharat Bond. Obviously we don't do bond ETFs. You can obviously buy Reliance or anything, any large cap stock that you are very comfortable holding and holding for the longer term. It can be a TCS, can be an Infosys. But remember, one golden rule when you're picking that up, it has to be low beta. It cannot be high beta. So what I do is I anchor that. So once, if you can see, this is, if I hover my mouse over there, it says it's pledged for margin. So close to around 14.
You've got 14 lakhs value.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I just bought it like the beginning of the year because look, I'll get around 7-8% here. But the advantage it gives me, the 90% of this 14 lakhs, I get back in margins, right? And this I can use whenever I want. I don't have to pay interest until I use it. So when I do that, then I just buy some equity and I keep, because I know my fundamental, anchor investment is a little on the safer side, or like a safe haven, for lack of a better word.
So just to paraphrase that, you're basically saying that here is a long-term investment I have made, and that is my primary capital. My primary capital is safe because I put it away in a good instrument with high conviction.
Yeah.
And then I'm leveraging that to make trading bets.
Yes, exactly. Because what happens is, if there is a deeper correction, there is a third wave and markets tank by 30%, then what I can do is I can sell some of this and again buy into equities rather than having to have cash where I'm not making anything. Right.
So let's stop you there. Shailesh, coming to you, you do something similar, right? So let us say that you've decided where your capital, where your primary investment is going to be. So now we're talking about the secondary trades that you do for short-term gain. How much do you spend time looking at fundamentals, and what fundamental factors do you look at, and how much time do you spend on technicals, and what sort of technicals do you look at, and how do you use it? How do you use InvestorAi to do that?
Correct. I hope my screen is visible. For short-term trading, Akshaya, I don't really look at fundamentals. It's more about on the technical side. Now, obviously, there is swing that we have covered extensively. But what I also use along with swing is something in technicals. So let me open up our technicals screen. So if you see, there are bullish and bearish signals. I'll actually jump into one of my most favorite ones. It's called RSI overbought and now reversing. So let me just hit on the question mark so that everyone can see. It says the stock's 14-day RSI fell below 70. Now what that means is RSI is a indicator. It's between 0 to 100. Whenever it goes above 70, it means the stock is technically overbought. That means stock has been going up. And now I like those stocks because once the movement is done, I like to get into them. And that small dip that happens, I want to catch that. That happens on both ways, where you will actually try to reverse it as well, where you will actually, when it is actually, for example, it's falling down, RSI is oversold, and then you want to get into it. So you just want the selling to get absorbed and then get in. I think my screen share actually fell off. Let me go back.
So you use that to identify dips in a stock price, right?
Yeah, not only dips. Dips keep happening. After the dip has happened, I want to wait for the reversal. So for this one, it's actually RSI overbought. So it actually has gone up, and now it might actually come down a little bit. So let me go to auto. Now, what has happened? If you look at here, I have Bajaj Auto. Let me just click on it. It says this is one of those technical indicators. So when I open it up, I can see it as a large cap auto industry. I do not like to go short on small caps in a bull market. That's a recipe waiting, for disaster. So let me put in live info. This is something I immediately use because it's all about short-term trading. You have to look at the charts. If you're not looking at the charts, it's not right. So let me look at this. So over the last 1 month, it has had a really good uptrend, right? So you can say it is overbought. But if you see yesterday, there has been some selling. There has been some going on. So at the end, there's some selling. So Monday morning, if this opens at least flat or in the green, I'll actually try to take a short call at it. So like this, I need these scanners so these technical indicators to run. They keep scanning the entire universe. There are multiple of them, something like, crossed 52-week high with volume, spike with volume. So you would always see volume always precedes price. So when spikes happen, you will know interesting ideas. And obviously you will do further analysis looking at the graphs and your own ideas, your own experiences, and then take a trading call.
Yeah. Shall we just pause? I saw a message from Sam. Is everybody able to see this? If you're not, just...
Yeah, we are.
We are, no? Okay, fine. Sorry, please carry on, Shailesh.
Yeah. So that's about on the swing and the short-term side. Now let me talk about fundamentals. For me, I'm very as I said, half of my portfolio is fundamentals. I don't do more momentum. I'll either swing or long-term, really long-term. Believe in good quality stocks. Everyone has a view, right? And that's mine. Now let me again. Here there are bullish signals and bearish signals. And there are just so many. Something like earnings turnaround. What does it say? It says companies that have been making losses last year and have turned their things around. Maybe that's a good thing. I mean, that's definitely a good thing. One of my favorites one is consecutive upgrades by analysts. So now what does that mean? It's basically stocks that have been consecutively upgraded by analysts in the last 6 months. That essentially means that brokers like Goldman Sachs, HDFC Securities, all these guys who come on TV, the big ones, they have a view and they're thinking, hey, this is going to do better. So they keep saying buy, strong buy or something, right? So if they are doing some analysis, maybe there is something to it. So I look at it. Let me give consecutive upgrades by
You know what, Shailesh, I mean, just from experience, I will tell you that brokers, are paid for coverage. And they quite often like to talk up the stock. And if many brokers start to do it, you can build up momentum without any fundamentals.
Correct.
It happens.
Correct. So let me
just a little careful about how we think.
Yeah. I'm about to come to that, Akshay. That's a very interesting point. Now, a lot of the times, news already flows comes in. It's actually telling you it's a good stock, but a good stock is not necessarily that you want to enter today. It's all the timing is also there. For example, I'll talk about Sumitomo Chemicals. Now, this was consecutively upgraded. So this has been coming as an insight for about month and a half in fundamentals. Now, but if I go to live info, and I give 1 month, it's already gone up. That upgrade happened and the stock is already gone. Now I don't want to get into it. So like this, there are so many other fundamentals, and I want to keep looking at them.
If you like something, but you decide not to get into it today, then how do you keep track of it?
Well, that's very simple. There's this monitor button here. I click on it and boom, it's monitored. And in the home page, it will always be there, and any interesting insight comes up, you get alerted.
Thank you. That's really useful. Let me switch back to Sarthak. So Sarthak, Shailesh described very well how he uses fundamentals and technicals, and how he makes really full use of InvestorAi in terms of giving him all the information he needs. How do you do this?
Honestly, let me share screens. I'll just give you an idea rather than telling you. Let me show you. Just a second, guys. So now if you can see, let me just, this is my portfolio page. This is not, again, ones which I have already pledged. You can only see what I hold here right now. So right now, if you see, I have close to around 40 holdings. That's kind of a big portfolio, but again, it's not a lot. So what I do is I buy a little bit when I find a very good insight or anything on those lines. And half of the time I do not sell. Like for example, Subex, I didn't sell. Now it's up 80%. Same thing with SAIL, it's like up 70% now. Again, all these are in the last 3 months, right? So the idea for me is, look, if there is a, again, I do a lot of reading. So I have an idea in terms of if material prices are going up and stuff like that and all of it. Then I always link that back to InvestorAi. So what I do is I go and search for, material sector, and I look at fundamental scores and, all of that to identify which companies, from a discovery standpoint, that, yeah, these are a few companies that have shown earnings turnaround, have value, etc. So I buy them, and again, I rarely sell them. Again,
So
this
it
is
sounds like, Sarthak, it sounds like your selection is mostly based on fundamentals and not so much on technicals, because your hold period is quite long.
Yes, absolutely, Akshay. I'm not a big believer in technicals in a way that, for the longer term, you can use technicals to, position your trades, use chart patterns to, quickly make a buck. But I'm not in that game. I don't have the time. So what I do is stock selection, use fundamentals. And look, for me, it is a very discovery oriented journey rather than quick alpha. Look, I'm 35. I have another 20, 25 years, hopefully. And, I intend to build that portfolio. And this is just India. I have in other countries also. So I continuously keep adding. So what happens is, if you're picking stocks at the right moment using Catalyst machine learning, your alpha, becomes much, much greater, unless you are, mistiming your trades really bad.
No,
And
I think thank you for that, Sarthak. I'm going to pause you here. It's very interesting to me that we have two investors who work in the same company, actually. So they know each other really well. एक ही साथ काम करते हैं. One says that, I use technicals mostly to decide short-term gains and all that. The other says, I don't believe in technicals. I only go over fundamentals. So very different. And, but both of them have time on their side. And believe me, time is the biggest driver of value. It is better than stock selection. It is better than technicals. It is better than fundamentals. It is time. If you have time on your side, and Sarthak at 35, you don't have 25 years. You have 55, 60 years. Okay? And Shailesh, I don't even want to think of how long you have. So it makes me feel really old. Because I'm 64, So if you have time on your side and you can be disciplined and you can be regular and you can be systematic, you will make a lot of money. Okay, you'll make some mistakes along the way. So I'm going to stop both of you here. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm going to now go back and share my screen just to sort of bring this discussion to a close. But I'm really looking forward to some of the questions and answers, because this kind of session needs, you have to sort of, it really depends on what all of you want to know. And so we don't want to be talking about it. Let me come back to some first principles that underlie all this. I said you and AI is the combination. Time is what gives you compounding value, and that is a superpower to make money. Everybody can have that. Okay, it's not restricted because of education. It is not restricted because of background. It is not restricted by language. It is only restricted by mental discipline and the desire to do this. Okay? So you is about knowledge and discipline. You have to have the knowledge. You can't, abdicate understanding, and you cannot abdicate knowledge and conviction to somebody else, because then it's not going to work. T is about leveraging the power of time. We've spoken about this. And AI is about using the machine to help you. That's where InvestorAi comes in. InvestorAi is not the single answer to everything. It is a very powerful tool, probably the most powerful in the world. But you have to use it well. You can buy a Ferrari, but you don't know how to drive it, you'll go and crash the car. So you really have to have the discipline, the knowledge, the understanding to use the extraordinary tool that is InvestorAi. And the things to understand is, first, you have to introspect, guys. You have to understand what is your style. Are you an active investor? Do you prefer buy and hold? How much time can you actually spend on investments on a daily basis? Because if you don't have the time, like Sarthak said, you're better off, making long-term bets and holding them for a long period of time. And if you have lots of time, like Shailesh sort of suggested he does, and I have to talk to him about that separately, then he can look at the short-term momentum trades. Okay, and finally, you have to know: are you disciplined enough? Speaking personally, I think I am disciplined, but I don't think I'm disciplined enough. There are days when I simply don't want to look at it and do something, so I goof off, which is not right. You should be looking at it every day. But, that is what I am. The final thing I will say is develop good investment habits, guys. Read as much as you can. Talk to people. Understand market information. If you don't understand something, there's no harm in asking. We have tried to put a lot of information within the app in terms of question marks, glossaries, knowledge center, etc. And we're going to keep putting in more stuff. Shruti just asked me to create, 30-second videos on different terms and stuff like that. So, you will see them coming in slowly over time. The idea, you keep asking yourself, why is something happening? Because that is what will, give you the understanding. Not everybody knows. A lot of people think they know, but talk to many people. Form your own view of the market and each company. Find the source for best ideas that you can find. InvestorAi is a phenomenal source, but it is not the only source. Please read and the more you do, the more muscle memory you will build. And after a while, you'll get to a point, you just look at something as, something is not right here. You don't have to think too much. Apne aap samajh mein aane lagega. And invest in yourself before you invest in the market. And I think that's genuinely very important. And I'm not making it up because it sounds nice. You have to invest in yourself. And to that extent, you should think of the InvestorAi subscription as an investment in yourself, because that will teach you. It's a very inexpensive way to learn. And if you learn well, you'll more than make that money. Lastly, you will make mistakes. I guarantee you. Okay, with the best of intention, with the best of discipline, and the best of knowledge, you will make mistakes. But treat each mistake as an opportunity to learn, not so much about the market or the company, but about yourself. Okay, and that is how gradually over time you will become a better investor. I will just take 5 minutes to share my screen on the app, and this is only for people who are first-time users who've just come to the app and haven't really worked out what is what. So when you come into InvestorAi, you land on the home page. You will see many of these widgets. Now you can order them. You can change the order at any time. You see 3 dots on the right-hand side. If you hold, you can move position. And if you just click on move position, I could then just, then you can easily switch the ordering of these things. So the first thing is wisdom of crowds, which is what other people are looking at. You can just sort of look at it. Then it's your own watch list. So these are some of the companies I am tracking. Then there are a number of shortcuts to knowledge center, preferences, subscription, etc. You can watch the demos. There are a number of videos. And there is finally InvestorAi Academy, so you can go and look at past webinars. There is a menu button. On the top right, you will see 4 squares. Just click on that, and you will see the menu button. Preferences will allow you to set your markets and set your sectors. That's not all. I talked about technical terms. There's a glossary. You can just touch, and you can sort of see what there is. There is the Knowledge Center, which has videos for all algos. It'll explain to you how the algos work, and so on and so forth. There is the Ideas Corner, where all the algos live. The top row is investment ideas for the buy and hold investor. If you're a short-term investor like Shailesh, then there are some short-term ideas for you. And these are some market signals, and the technicals and fundamentals we spoke of live in these red tiles. So that's all I will say, and I will stop here. Very happy to take any questions that you have, and I hope you have lots of them, because I find the question answer period to be the most interesting and potentially the most valuable.
Yes, Akshay, we do. Actually, we do have a range of questions from basic to complex, and we've actually encouraged them to ask us for that. Let me just start with a basic one, which Biswamitra asks us: what is alpha? What is beta? What do we mean by that?
Okay, Sarthak. Let me answer that, and then anyone can add in. So beta is, so let us say the market return is 3%. and you have generated a 8% return, the excess over the market is generally considered alpha. Okay, so when we talk about alpha 330, it is intended to generate an alpha return, which is over the market, and the absolute return number we have picked is a 3% return in 30 days. There is a question from Abhishek Pai, which I want to pick up, saying why Alpha 330 section has such low success rate even when it has been AI picked. Maybe we can reduce the number of calls, but increase the success rate. So Abhishek, what happens is Alpha 330 has been running at extraordinary success rates. What happens is we measure this every day. Okay, and I'm going to request Shailesh to talk a little bit about how we calculate this. And we publish the calculation exactly as it is, with no doctoring, with no changes. So if I go back, since we launched in India in December, Alpha 330 has had 70, 80%, in occasion, mid 80% accuracy. But from time to time, it drops because markets change. Some algos do well, some algos don't do that well. So currently, you're right, the accuracy rate is a little low, but it is what it is. You know, we will never hide anything. We will never change anything. We will simply show you as what it is. My advice on this particular thing, bear with us, watch it for a while, you will see it go up, because that's what we've seen. So Shailesh, would you like to add something?
Yes, as you said, Akshaya, it normally varies around 70 to 80%, and right now it's at the lower end. The way we compute is each Alpha 330 insight is supposed to give 3% from the day we showed it as an insight, and every time it hits it, we count it as a win or accurate. If it doesn't, we don't calculate it. So 70% of what we have said has actually done right. Now that essentially means the 30% didn't. But even if you made good accuracy targets and stop losses, 7 out of 10 trades will still work, and 3 go wrong. That still means 4 on net would still be win. So you would still make considerable money by investing across insights. Now, Abhishek, you are actually saying to make it more like value investing, where we do lesser calls but are way more accurate. Yes, we actually think about it. We have been having a discussion. Maybe we should reduce the insights, and for us, we can actually do it. We can actually reduce the insights and make the accuracy a little higher as well. So we are going to take that suggestion, and we are going to discuss internally to see if we can do that as well.
Just to add to that, a couple of things. Remember, when you are choosing an algo in InvestorAi, you need to understand that, you know, the level of involvement and engagement for different algos is different. You buy a value investing, you buy and forget because it's already undervalued. You can wait for 3 months for it to bounce back. But when you're getting into an Alpha 330, the algo has been designed to identify stocks that will hit the 3%. And if you really see right now, also you're at 67%. The thing is, during volatile markets, it'll hit the 3%, it will come back. So in such cases, what I would recommend for people who are into trading, use a GTT order. Good till, canceled or whatever, triggered. So what happens is you buy and you also put the target. So the moment that gets triggered, you're out. The thing is, or if you're a day trader, then use, if you're a momentum trader, possibly use Alpha 330 in that base. It is important to use targets, etc. when you're doing that. And when you do that, I don't think you'll be disappointed in terms of your accuracy numbers, etc.
Okay, let's take another question, Shruti.
Nikhil, actually, I see the latest one here, and I think we could just continue with that. I think Nikhil asks us, how do I pick up stocks based on the insights of InvestorAi?
Well, Nikhil, you have to first understand how each algo works. So an insight from our Alpha 330 algo has to be understood differently from an insight from a value investing algo versus any other algo. So let me just take value investing. So value investing mein kya hota hai? It is looking for good stocks that may be undervalued. So it tells you what the relative valuation is. And if it is undervalued, anything below 20th percentile we consider undervalued. So it will show you what the valuation is. So it is a cheap company, but is it a good company? So then it does a sector rank So it ranks, actually rank every company every day against its sector peers. And if the sector rank is high, then that is a good company. So the lower the valuation, the better it is for you. The higher the sector rank, again, the better it is for you. The last thing that calculates is, how quickly does the price bounce back? This is based on a mathematical theory called mean reversion, or a statistical theory called mean reversion. And how quickly does the price bounce back? And you will see a section called back testing, which then shows you how many times has the stock reached the 20th percentile in the last 2 years, and how quickly has it bounced back. And the rate of return will be the higher. So ideal value investing insight would be low valuation, high sector rank, and really high backtesting returns. That is value investing. Now, if you go to Alpha 330, it's a different construct. Alpha 330 aims at 3% for 30 days. So then you have to look at the signal. If the signal is high, then it's a good time to buy. If the signal has fallen because it changes every day, have fallen, maybe it is not a good time to buy. That is where your feeling and conviction become very important. And then you have to look at the accuracy and how it's doing. But in Alpha 330, your conviction has a very, very big role to play. So these are just two of the algos, but each algo you have to interpret in a slightly different way.
Yeah. So Arun, Shailesh has answered your question, but both Arun and Shakib seem to have downloaded our app just yesterday. So Shakib's question is, can you please guide me where I can find the tutorial to use the app?
Watch the demo. On the home page, there is a little tile which says watch the demo. It's something I recorded on YouTube personally a few weeks ago. Please watch it. Then there are other videos that you will find in the video section on how each algo works and so on. So there's a bunch of information and video tutorials there, Shakib. So please use them.
Great. Ritik has 2-3 questions together. How did you arrive at the factor of 330? Shouldn't we be considering market days of the month? He basically wants to understand how to predict the turnaround.
Okay, I'm going to ask Sarthak to take that one.
See, forget the days and all the time period. Look at the DNA of the algo. So look, I'll just give you a basic on machine learning in terms of there are two kinds of patterns. Two kinds of modeling. One is classification, another is regression. The Alpha 330 family is a classification heavy algo, which is basically we identify stocks with high probability that this will do 3% or not. We are not thinking about what is the number. Let's say it's 8%, 10%, 12%. No, we don't do that. We are looking at classification. And how is 3%? Why did we decide on 3%? It's availability of training data and class balances. So what happens is when we look at 10 years of history, we want to, if we put a higher threshold of 8%, the number of companies the system has to learn from reduces significantly. So what happens is patterns are not, they happen, but they are not recurrent in a sense that it could be because of a result, it could be because of a catalyst. So machine doesn't learn much. But the moment you reduce that threshold to 3-4%, you're actually picking up ones which are in positive trend, which is very, very important to understand. So the 3% to 30 days is based on the availability of data that we have. And we look at, historically, if there are a number of companies that have done 3% are at least 30 to 40% of the universe, then the machine learns well. And, our accuracy and precision goes up.
So just to add to that, a lot of people don't realize the enormous amount of computing power that goes into the signals that we produce. So we get close to 900 data points on every single stock every single day. Okay, then we have to check them and we have to then run them through the algos, and the algos will actually run across the entire universe. So the algo is calculating everything for every company every day, and then it is figuring out which are the ones that should be shown in the app. So there's enormous computing power to be done. Now you have to make a selection. It is either 3 or it is 1 or it is 2 or it is 5 when in the 330. when we have, and so we have taken 3, and it is, needed to be large enough to be attractive, yet low enough for it to have enough of a universe where the machine could learn. And I think that's the balance. Over time, as quantum computing in the next 5-7 years becomes more prevalent, I can see a day where there will be a version of InvestorAi in 5-7 years' time where you can select your own threshold, because then it takes seconds for the machine to recalculate everything all the time. But that kind of computing power doesn't exist at the moment. So we have to choose one and stick to it. One sort of framework, 330, and stick to it.
Although we have to say we are experimenting with some in another product.
Do not get excited about it.
Sarthak, thank you for the teaser. Okay, so but we'll tell you more soon. So Ritik, that's great. Your question, clearly got us very excited. So everyone, a lot of your questions that you ask are being discussed on an InvestorAi community WhatsApp group. So if you're actually interested, want to really learn a lot about how to use the app, ask us questions, even questions around the stock market, related to technical fundamentals, then can we have the poll up, please? We just would like to know if some of you, would like to actually join the WhatsApp group, and then we could actually, share the chat link here, and you could actually join that group. And we have special, discounts and great discussions, actually more than the discounts on that group.
It's a very good group, because what happens is everybody posts their questions, and sometimes we can answer them. But most of the time, what I really like is that community members answer each other. And that to me is the power of the community. It becomes a self-governing, self-sustaining kind of group. And I'm really, really happy to see that. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
So we are running out of time.
Yes. So Akshay, just one. We actually have a couple of our subscribers who asked a question, and Ajay, specifically asked that for premium users of your app, could we do a special webinar, just to again get into more details about the app, what they can do. So yes, Ajay, we see a lot of our subscribers coming back to again attend these sessions, but we will be doing one specifically on how to leverage the app better and how to beat the market. So using InvestorAi. So that's something we will do. We have more questions on Alpha 330, but Akshay, I think looking at the time, what I'd like to do is just first, if we could just talk a little bit about how they could access us and the discount for today, and just come back to one question before that. So can I have that slide up, please, Prabal? So everyone, we have just launched our quarterly plan. This is completely based on your ask. We had a monthly plan and we had an annual plan. And of course, we had the discount only on the annual plan. And a lot of people go for the annual plan. But we had people who said, you know what, I really like what I'm seeing and I want to use you guys, but can we have a quarterly plan, something in between? And here you go. This is what we have. Can I have the next slide, please? We have 2 plans overall in terms of how you could leverage InvestorAi. One is the India plan, which is a domestic pro plan, where you get all algos and you get India as the market. And as you can see here, we're under 2,000 for a quarter. That's an amazing discount that we're running at the moment. It's 15% off, just to let all of you know. You can use the webinar code that's over here, which is WBNR15, and download the app, go into the menu, hit subscribe, you can put in the code and you will have the plan that you want. And at any time you want to upgrade, it's very easy to upgrade as well. So just wanted to use your time to tell you about this, but otherwise you can find us on all channels. Join the WhatsApp community, because a lot of what is going to come and, getting your feedback, all of it happens on that WhatsApp community. So looking forward to having, a lot of you over there. Purushottam, you've raised your hand for a question, but it would be great if you could just maybe, put in your question on the chat. Akshay, can we take one last question before we sign off this time? Thank you, Ajit Jain. He's been on our group and he says there's a lot of, good quality conversations that are happening. Yeah, so Shailesh, you answered Manoj, but I think people were still asking us about Alpha 330, if we can look at it weekly or monthly. So Can you just maybe?
Actually, let me take that.
Yeah.
So, guys, the power of Alpha 330 is the regularity with which it pumps out ideas. If you reduce that regularity, I personally feel it will reduce the impact it can have. I'd rather have ideas coming every day than ideas coming once a week, because many of these movements happen very quickly. I've seen Alpha 330 stocks, within 2 days, it has gone some 15%. So if you make it weekly, then by the time the idea comes, it's already stale and you miss the movement. So I would actually look the other way. Right now, we do it at the end of the day. If we could, and we can't today, so please don't ask for it. If we could generate an intraday Alpha 330, I think that would be even more powerful. But or intraday swing trades or something like that. Right now, we don't have the intraday capability, but so anyway.
Yeah.
So no, we're not going to do weekly Alpha 330.
Yeah, so just to add to that, look, this is the difference between research and signals, because the advantage of an AI is that we can generate that score based on every change. If there is a change overnight in delta, we also, a lot of people have said that why is that no signal happening? That's because we are not telling the system. The system is looking at all technical, fundamental, momentum, delivery volumes, and it's saying right now the signal is dropped, and we report that. So it looks, the thing is, we are also in a way showing you stocks that are about to break out. Research also does that, but this is signals, that is research. So there's a difference between the two.
And then there's something important in what Sarthak just said. We believe in our machine. We have trained it well, and we believe it produces good output. Because we believe in it, we don't allow anyone to manually change anything. If it is putting out a lot of signals, wonderful. If it is not putting out enough, that's life. Okay, that's how the machine works. Secondly, if the accuracy is high, we will tell you. Accuracy is low, we will tell you. You make your own decision. During the time when accuracy is low, you might say, okay, I don't want to, I have less confidence in what is coming out. That's entirely okay. But we will simply show you exactly what is happening. That is our obligation. Whether it works for you or not, that is up to you.
Okay, thank you. Purushottam, yes, I guess you have missed our discount by a week, but you will make up more than what you've paid for the subscription. That's what our subscribers tell us. So that's all I leave you with, and I'm sure you'll come back and tell us that next week. That's the kind of confidence we have. But thank you very much for everyone for joining this special session. Akshay, we had 100 people stay, almost 35 minutes into the session, and we've just started slowly. People I guess are hungry, and then they've gone for lunch. But thank you so much. See you next week, same time, same place. The InvestorAi Academy team signing off. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.